How's Mick? It's great to be back. My name is Gary Fowler, and I am the host of the Founders Report on VC TV. I'm a serial entrepreneur and investor. I've done 17 companies, been involved in 2 unicorns. I was on the original management team at Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, and also Eva.ai, an AI HR tech company. Today, I have a very special guest. I forgot to mention, I'm the CEO, president, co-founder of GSD Studios, a premier AI and quantum venture studio located in Silicon Valley. We believe that intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities aren't. And with that, I'd like to introduce my special guest, Jerry. I got to tell you, Akubo Jerry, you have so much on your LinkedIn profile. I've never seen as much, but you've worked within the Interpol organization. You've had an incredible environment from everything from TAC and to ID rank security. I mean, tell me about how did you get involved in security? What did it like? One day, you're laying in your bed and you say, I think security is really cool. I want to get into it. Or did you how did it come about? Where did it come from?
Well, Gary, for me, I've been in the four walls of security organization as a law enforcement agency for over 2 decades now. In fact, my first encounter with security was after my graduation from the university. I served at the apex of security organization in Nigeria, which is a Nigerian police force. That was my first service year. After that, I developed a very keen interest in security. And all along, I've been within the security domain till this moment. And it's really interesting.
You went to school in Limerick, Ireland. Now, how did you do that? How did you decide on Limerick? I know you studied digital security and IP crime, but was it how did you make a decision to go to Ireland?
Yeah, absolutely. It was during my service year after my university in Nigeria. I got an exposure, especially within the Interpol domain, because at that point in time, Interpol was more like a new section within the Nigerian police, and with my first degree, which based on computer sciences, I was saddled with the responsibility of maintaining the system at that point in time. And in the course of my research and networking, I got some connect with some folks at Limerick, and I applied for the IP course, which is a graduate level course, which I did for 18 months. And in fact, that's my first encounter with international exposure. It was Ireland, Limerick University.
So so you went into Interpol. Tell us a little bit about, what is Interpol? It's we hear about it in the movies, but most people never encounter. What is Interpol? Can you hear me?
No, please rephrase that question again, Gary.
Yeah. So Interpol, you work with Interpol. What is Interpol, and how does it, talk about cybersecurity, et cetera? What is Interpol, right? And because not all are familiar with it, and you talk about cybersecurity. Let's talk about that. How does Interpol and cybersecurity relate together?
Well, absolutely. Interpol, as the name implies, is an international criminal police organization for food. Okay, we did headquarters at Lyon in France, and it's a technology headquarters in Singapore, which is called the Interpol Global Center for Innovation, and it also has administrative offices in Brussels. Interpol, essentially, as of date, is made up of 194 member countries world over. And each of these countries has what we call an NCB. NCB stands for National Crime Bureau. Okay, and essentially it's like the liaison or the rallying point for Interpol operations within each of these member countries. Interpol essentially also has what we call crime areas, major crime areas, which are mostly emerging technology related, like cybercrime, cyber-related activities, cyber defense. Interpol has a fusion center that's built specifically for operations related to cybercrime, cyber forensics, cryptocurrency forensics, and in fact, the latest trend, especially as regards emerging crimes. Okay, and Interpol for member countries is a point where you go and get solutions that at all points in time, it's at the peak or it's at the head of virtually all operations within. So member countries rely on Interpol resources most times to get the latest trend of tools and techniques for curbing these emerging crimes. And cybercrime is one of these emerging technology crimes.
Well, I mean, with all the cyber crime that's out there, I mean, how do you know where, it's interesting, and I'm not trying to get any secrets, but it's very fascinating because you never know where the cyber criminals are coming from sometimes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you probably do, but we don't have a clue. But
absolutely,
it's amazing, so they're hitting all kinds of places. I mean, this can be a national catastrophe for a country, right? I mean, this could have all kinds of geopolitical consequences. They shut down the power grid, or look at the ransomware attacks in the U.S. It's incredible. Was it 46% of Colonial Pipeline of the reserves, the gas and oil on the East Coast of the United States was shut down with ransomware? I mean, it's interesting. There's some nefarious folks out there doing not nice things, right? Then these are only the ones. I'm sure you have all kinds of stories, but
yes.
I mean, are we doing a good job? Are we catching them, Jerry? I mean, do we get those crimes? Do we know what's happening? Can we find the guys, the bad guys?
Absolutely sure. The bad guys are always embracing the latest technology, all in the hope of evading security infrastructures. But then with emerging technologies being deployed by the core investigative arm of Interpol, and with the technological boost, which is entirely one of the major pillars of Interpol operations. And in fact, and that is why Interpol has set up what we call IGCI, Interpol Global Center for Innovation, which is specifically set up for research and development within the domains of this emerging crime. Mind you, cybercrime is just one of the emerging crimes, because there are several crimes and criminalities which cybercrime aids essentially world over. So in terms of if the law enforcement agents or the securities are catching up with the criminals, of course, definitely there are constant innovation, especially at the moment when you look at what's happening within the domain of artificial intelligence, where the law enforcement are also building what we call web crawlers to crawl the web, okay, automatically to 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, to get what we call keywords. And these keywords basically are what these criminals use in their underground operations in the deep dark web, essentially, which is highly indexed. And essentially, this crawler also have signature of this indexed documentation. So in fact, it's very broad. The bad guys are always trying to be ahead, but the law enforcement with constant innovation, okay, are also getting them as they unfold their different operational module.
Now listen,
so it's crazy,
Yeah, it's amazing, Jerry. What about this dark web? Is it really out there, and what is it? Because it's like the good and the bad. Is it there, and what is this place anyhow? Because I've never seen it.
Yes, the dark web. Most of the times, 80% to 90% of the internet is unharnessed, is underutilized, as I speak to you, normal users, especially industrial users, organizational users, and day-to-day users only use about 10% of the internet. That is called the surface web. We have what to call the deep web, which is a level after the surface web, and we have the deep dark web. Okay, and this is where organized criminals also use to facilitate some of the heinous crimes. And that's why constantly the security agencies also have to build tools, okay, to make sure that this environment are fully manned at all points in time.
Well, that's incredible. So they're in another web. So there's a deep web and there's a dark web below the deep web, or is it the same level as the deep web?
Absolutely. So it's like an onion ball. You roll this out, then you get another one underneath, then you roll out.
I got it. Wow. So, I don't want to know what goes on down there, but it's fascinating. You know what I mean? It's like going down a cave.
Absolutely.
And that's where the cyber criminals are. They're inside this dark web.
Absolutely. They use this dark web for most of their nefarious operations to evade the checks.
Wow. Well, I hope it's guys just like you that are in there trying to catch them. You know what I mean? I'm sure you are, right?
Yeah.
Who's doing what and nefarious. But it's got to be interesting. How can, if you have a cyber criminal, for instance, I know there's trafficking and everything else, but, cybercrime, how in the world can you tell where somebody's really coming from? You watch these Jason Bourne movies and you can't really tell where they are, right? Because they're masking it or they're setting up. Is it hard to tell where these bad guys are coming from or not? Can you tell?
Yeah, most times it's very hard to tell from just a normal investigation, but there are tools that you use to unmask even if because most criminals today deploy the use of VPN. VPN technology, what it does, it automatically marks your IP such that a gentleman can be somewhere in West Africa, for instance, and his IP will show that he is somewhere in New Zealand, of course. And for a normal investigator, once you get a case like this and you get on, the first check you do is the headers of the email or the documentation to see where this originates from. And essentially, if you rely on that alone, then you'll be misled. But then with the right tools, essentially, you can dig deep and know exactly that this person is using a VPN. And this VPN is actually obtained from dealer or from a particular domain. And from the domain, you can do extensive domain queries. So this domain queries narrows it down to tell you where it's been installed, okay, and at what point it was set up. And with that, you can really unmask lots of things within this domain. So it has a higher curve of technicalities. That's one thing. That's
wow, amazing. And you're in the office of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You're a technical advisor, correct, to the special assistant to the president. It must be interesting. I mean, it sounds like there's an incredible amount of activity happening in Nigeria. I mean, I got to tell you, Jerry, I see it from my partner, Derek. We talk about it. I mean, it's incredible what's happened in Nigeria. I mean, there's 206 million people and the kind of steps you're going forward in terms of artificial intelligence and technology. I mean, most of my viewers may not know it, but I mean, there's a lot happened in Africa, a lot happened in Nigeria. Viewers, there's 1.3 billion people on the African continent. And if we look at it, some of the most incredible technologies that I've seen in a long time are coming out of that area. So what makes, in Nigeria, I hear AI Saturdays. I know we've done a number of presentations in Nigeria, and it's exciting. What's driving all this entrepreneurial activity, Jerry?
Well, I think essentially, if you look at Nigeria, most of the startups in Nigeria, and especially the youth, they are high intellectuals. Especially if you look at the environment. Okay, it's an environment where you have to be creative in order to get some things going. And most of the youths after universities also try to engage in a self kind of tutelage that leads to incorporation of different kind of know-hows. For instance, if you look at what's happening within Nigeria specifically as of date, just like you said, there are different technological innovation within the fintech industries, within the space technology, even within the drone and counter drone, because in Nigeria recently, I think some few months back, we did a launcheon for a gentleman who was able to couple a fixed wing drone, okay, and did the test run, okay, for one of the institutions within Nigeria. So essentially, there are lots going on within the technological domain. However, the constraints are getting these technologies to an international level where it will be acceptable, and apart from the acceptability, where it will also meet what we call the standard operating procedures or international best practices for utilization of these technologies. And it's only few startups that are actually getting this opportunity at the moment. And I hope with the synergy ongoing at the moment, there will be opportunities for more of the African startups who have the capability and capacity, but don't have the connect to go global, to also be supported, especially within the domain of security in not just Nigeria, but Africa at large.
Now, we're really excited. You know, it's my grandmother's from Africa, so my grandmother's North African, and so we
Really?
yeah,
North African. Wow.
yeah. So she, I remember when I grew up, she was speaking Arabic and Greek
Oh, really?
and everything else, and she would speak to me, and I would I thought it was normal, you know what I mean? Oh, I would say things in Greek or Arabic or whatever. But yeah, my grandmother was actually from Egypt. She was from Alexandria, Egypt. That's where she was born. Anyhow, tell me a little bit. I mean, you've got a fascinating group called Technology Against Crime Africa, and which you're the president and CEO of. This NGO is just phenomenal, and I mean, you're really going gangbusters and doing incredible things, including raising a fund. Tell us a little bit about that, and what your charter is, and where you see it going over the next couple of years.
Well, thanks so very much. I think that's an important question. I like giving it a priority because for me, it's something that I've come to realize that it would essentially be one of the key organizations that will help in liberating the security sector, not just in Nigeria, but Africa at large. Technology Against Crime in Africa is a civil society organization, and we believe that with technologies, the security threats which at the moment we're encountering within the African region could be reduced to the barest minimum. TAC Africa was actually incorporated in 2016 in Nigeria, but it was actually founded in Lyon, France, at an international forum called Technology for a Safer World, where 100 plus countries were gathered to discuss a way forward for technology within their various domains or within their various countries. And that was where I got this ideation. And when I got to Nigeria, I had to put up a documentation to some colleagues and some subject matter experts, some academia within the technology domain in Africa. And I said, this dream, we had to see how we can actualize it. And essentially, in 2016, it was fully registered, and we started operations. In the course of our operations, we also realized that for us to operate, we need to carve a niche. And the niche area for technology is very broad, but we had to sectionalize it. So in this vein, we had to sectionalize it into 5 major pillars. One of the pillars, and the major amongst these pillars, is artificial intelligence and robotics. Then we have the drone and counter drone pillar. we have the cybersecurity and cyber defense. Then we also came up to set up the blockchain and crypto forensics pillar, which became one of the core pillars for our operation. Because even the website, at the moment, we are working with a company to set it up to a blockchain-enabled website platformation. And finally, we have the technology for social good. So essentially, these are the 5 pillars. And our aims and objective is to see how we can use this pillar to build capacity within the security domain for the African sub-region. So these are the core operabilities for technology against crime at the moment. And just to give you an ideation on how we intend deploying this pillar, we also built what we call a volunteer management system. What the volunteer management system does, or what it is to do, which at the moment we are still building, which is blockchain enabled, is to serve as a reach to virtually all the public and the populace. Essentially, it's going to come as a mobile app and a web version, whereby if you can download this and you go to TAC website, what it asks you, are you a law enforcement agent? Are you a security agent? Okay, or are you a technology enthusiast? Are you a student? Then these are the pillars. What pillars do you want to major on? Then as a volunteer, you can choose one of the pillars. And once you choose this pillar, it also tells us what level of knowledge you have within this domain. Are you a starter? Are you intermediate or advanced? Essentially, with this information, we intend building our database to a level whereby we can have a considerable amount of volunteering and membership for the NGO, and we can also have auspices within the African region that will serve as a force, a volunteer force for evangelizing technology within the mainstream of the African region. So that's
fantastic. And I know we announced with you I guess a week or so ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, our partnership with the venture fund. And so can you tell the audience a little bit about it and this incredible opportunity that's out there and how this came about?
Well, TAC Africa and GSD Studios, I think if I'm to give a little preface, I think our first encounter with GSD Studios was through one of our advisors or one of our major collaborators, which is Unicry. Essentially, we had one of our first or our maiden conferences, which has to do with artificial intelligence for crime prevention within the African region. Okay, it was it was the first joint technical committee ever held in Africa. And the essence was in preparation for a general conference on AI, which is to be held at the Interpol headquarters. And we were meant to prepare the African region so that we can have a working committee for this. And that was the first encounter. And Irakli was a very good friend. In fact, I'm very happy to mention him any day because he really, really helped us in galvanizing that pillar.
Irakli and I were on a panel together in Georgia. And then,
oh, really?
Yeah, so we were on a panel together, and that's how we met. I was, I had met him and was doing that to help out. I was on the AI panel with him.
Oh, really?
So that's how we got together. But in fact, we just spoke at the United Nations. I spoke there like 4 weeks ago on artificial intelligence, computer vision as a tool to combat violent extremism and terrorism. I was on that panel. So we're deeply involved in that AI side. So Rackley, again, thanks for the introduction to Jerry. It was really great. Anyhow, we see it too. And as we look forward, I mean, think about this. I mean, Jerry, there's so much data that's around us, right? There's 49 zettabytes of data. And if we stack CDs or DVDs one on top of another, we'll go 35 times between the Earth and the moon. So we are inundated. We're in a state of infobesity. And so each one of us, and as you know, the criminals are getting more data to deal with, we're getting more data. And the key is to having these semi-supervised and unsupervised AI tools to be able to combat those particular situations. And I've written 161 articles in the last 18 months on AI and quantum computing. And think about quantum. That's another thing, Jerry. I don't know how much
Yeah,
you know about
absolutely.
it, but a quantum computer is 100 million times faster than a supercomputer, the fastest
Absolutely.
supercomputer today. What it means is it would take 10,000 years on a supercomputer, takes 200 seconds on a quantum. And
Absolutely.
well, I mean, you talk about having to deal with the bad guys. We got to get some quantum computers out there to be able to help us,
Absolutely.
So if you look at it, what's the direction? I mean, so you're working on this fund to be able to work on areas like cybersecurity, defense, AI, robotics, drones, blockchain, etc. I mean, there's an incredible opportunity. Is it just in Nigeria, or are you going to expand outside to Africa? So are you looking for startups in just Nigeria or all around the region?
Well, as the name implies, Technology Against Crime Africa is a continental NGO. It's not Nigeria centric. Our goal is to make Africa great again. And knowing too well that Nigeria, it's one of the biggest country in Africa, no doubt. It's like a starting point, but we also intend having what you call contact point or liaison office within all the African regions. I mean, the 56 countries of Africa.
Well, that's incredible. I mean, this is a burgeoning opportunity. If you look at Africa,
Absolutely.
Africa is rising. There's 1.3 billion people, folks. 1.3 billion. It's a great opportunity. There's some of the, I early on with Rackley's introduction and working with Nathaniel and some other folks that I've met in Nigeria, I understand there's incredible talent there, and I'm really, I'm not amazed. I'm just excited, I should say, because it's a great time.
Same here.
And
Absolutely.
Being able to take those companies not only to the African continent but around the world to be able to solve all kinds of problems, agriculture, industry 4.0 with drones. I mean, it's incredible. So you're building the fund up. The fund is a $1 million fund. Where do you see the fund going? What's the goals? What's the overall goal? So the end goal of the fund is not just funding the companies, but to be in each one of the countries, or what do you say?
Well, for me, firstly, I believe the collaboration, especially with regards to using of this fund to revolutionize our entire mode of operation, especially in advancing the field of security, startup in Africa and beyond. So we are looking at this funding as a major stepping stone, okay, for TAC Africa, powered by GSD Venture Studios. Okay, and essentially we're looking at myriads of workflow at the moment, which we have commenced already. One of our major operational module is first engaging all the stakeholders, and we have within the core of our scientific committee engaged academia. We've engaged law enforcement agencies. We've engaged original equipment manufacturers related to the African region, okay, and major government stakeholders, because we believe collaboration alone can lead us to a successful harnessing of whatever goals we have, especially within the region. And all hands must be on deck if we need to come up with a massive result, especially with the trust.
No, it's fantastic, and you have the full power of as the CEO of GSD, and my background's in AI. I've been in AI so long. I was doing AI.
That's good.
I was doing AI before it was, they call it AI, but it's Lisp and Ops 5. And as a CEO of companies moving forward, there's a great opportunity, and whatever we can do to be able to support your NGO and help to be able to make the world a safer and better place. It's really great. So we're coming to the top of the hour, Jerry. Closing thoughts and how do people reach you? So I have a lot of my audience is in Africa, by the way. I'm sure there's some African startups that may be interested in contacting you. So whether they're drones or cybersecurity or robotics, how do they get a hold of you? And closing thoughts.
Well, absolutely. our closing thought is this.
Jerry? Well, I think we've lost Jerry for the moment. Anyhow, this is Gary Fowler, and we got to the end of it. I would like to say thanks so much, Jerry, for attending TAC Africa and all the incredible opportunities that are on the African continent in the 56 countries are really, truly exciting. I'm excited to see the progress that's being made and whatever we can do to support it. Here, I'd like to thank the entire team at VCTV for making the Founders Report happen, Hasmek and all the VCTV team. My name is Gary Fowler, and I'm your host. I will be back again in 2 weeks for another exciting edition of the Founders Report with Gary Fowler. Stay tuned, stay happy, and stay healthy. See you soon. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.